Hi, I'm Chike Coleman, and that's Koplinski. We're back for another week of talking about movies. This week, we are talking about our top 10 of 2013, as well as a review of Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, which is directed by Kenneth Branagh, and Kenneth Branagh also plays the villain, and it stars Chris Pine. But we're not going to go into the movie just yet. We want to talk about our top 10 of the year. And what a year it's been, Chuck. What are some things that surprised you this year, just overall in terms of what you expected and what you got from cinema this year?
I think the thing that became obvious early on, I thought, was that the overriding theme this year was alienation and loneliness. That seemed to be a theme that kept popping up again and again and again, and I was glad to see that as far as a serious theme that kept being explored in a variety of ways in many different movies. I think we mentioned that when we talked about Her, and that was one of the predominant ones. Gravity as well was
I was
obviously.
Going to say Her, 12 Years a Slave, Gravity. Those are the three I can think of off the top of my head.
All Is Lost.
Oh yeah, All Is Lost is definitely one.
Obviously, you could also make a stretch, I think, to Inside Llewyn Davis as well.
Yeah, I had an even more bizarre connection in terms of loneliness, and that was Stories We Tell. That one also had
the documentary
odd theme of loneliness.
And one film that I was surprised people didn't embrace, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Obviously, there was an alienated character there too, who was searching or trying to reach out and make some connections. So that's I was glad to see that theme was on the mind of many filmmakers throughout the year, and that you could at least sift through that, grab onto that as you sift through all the other crap that was out there, because of course there was plenty of that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get into our top 10. What is your number 10?
We want to go 10 up?
Yeah.
My number 10 is Gravity.
Okay. Why was your number 10 Gravity? I'm surprised because you had a lot of love for that.
I did have a lot of love for that film, but then having seen it again and then with other things coming out afterwards, I mean, there's no doubt that it is a phenomenal technical achievement, and it's going to be looked back as a landmark from a technical point of view, and I think that alone made it one of the exceptional films of the year. But the story itself is a little thin. I mean, when you really go back and look at it and cut through the special effects, there's not much there as far as story. It's very obvious what they're doing. So that's why it dropped from 1 to 10, but still good enough to be in the top 10 this year.
Okay. My number 10 is actually Rush, directed by Ron Howard. The reason Rush is my number 10 is that it's a really brilliantly fascinating character study of these two men and their love for Formula One racing. And watching their parallel lives is beyond just astounding. The differences and the similarities there are just brilliant, and both leads pull off amazing performances. But at the end of the day, as you say, when you want a film to stick in your mind, it has to do something memorable. And although I cared about those characters, I didn't really care about where they went after the movie was over. It didn't make me want to look more into their story or wonder what happened next.
I like that one a little bit more than yours. That's number 6 on my list. And I really liked how Ron Howard used the cameras to capture racing. I think it's the greatest auto racing film ever made. I mean, the technology has gotten to the point to where he can put those cameras anywhere he wants out there on the track and on the cars, and I thought that was pretty exciting stuff. So I'm glad it made both of our top 10 lists.
Yeah. What's your number 9?
All Is Lost.
Okay.
All Is Lost.
I didn't get a chance to see All Is Lost, so can you illuminate our viewers on what that movie's about?
Tour de force film. It's very, very simple. Robert Redford on a boat that's sinking out in the middle of the ocean. And he has to do his best to survive. The film takes place over the course of 8 days. Things will go from bad to pretty good. Looks like he's going to get out of it, but then a storm hits. He just is captivating the entire time. And if there was one snub at the Oscar nominations I was most upset with, it was that this film and he was overlooked completely. I mean, to be able to hold our attention the entire time over the 100-minute running time, and he says one word in the film, and that's about it. I just thought it was an incredible, incredible performance, and just something, again, that underscores that whole theme of alienation and loneliness, and something I could really, really relate to.
Okay,
number 9.
My number 9 is The Place Beyond the Pines. This is the one good Ryan Gosling movie that came out this year. I won't even.
One out of
the other-
three, huh?
The other one doesn't even exist for me.
Don't forget Gangster Squad,
Well,
which was
the
way
other-
back in January.
The other two don't exist for me. Let's put it that way.
This is the one
Place
good one,
Beyond
you're
the-
right.
Yeah, The Place Beyond the Pines stars Ryan Gosling as a motorcyclist who works for the circus, and he's really trying to build his life back together with his. I'm going to call her a girlfriend. Eva Mendes is the girlfriend, and you see his story, and it's linked with another person's story, and it's a really good ensemble piece. I was really upset when it wasn't recognized for Oscar nominations because I think this is one of the most deeply affecting films of the year. Just got completely overlooked, and the performances are all fantastic all around. Even from Dane DeHaan and the other guy who talks like he's Mark Wahlberg's son.
This movie was really three stories in one, and I liked the first two stories. For me, the film kind of faltered in the last act. But you're right, I liked how the ambition of it. I liked the fact that we were dealing with serious things here. I love the whole theme of the sins of the father are carried on or affected by the sons. I did like it. It just, for me, it kind of faltered at the end. But some good acting there.
Okay. What's your number 8?
Dallas Buyers Club is number 8. And I think that this one is going to continue its momentum as far as acting awards are concerned. Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto have I don't know if they've made a clean sweep, but real close as far as critics organizations and other organizations that have already given out their acting awards. They've gotten almost all of them. And I think deservedly so, and if they walk away with Oscars, I think that's going to be very deserved as well, as they both play gentlemen afflicted with AIDS right when the AIDS crisis begins, and they're struggling to survive by using methods and medicines not recognized by the FDA, which is trying to shut them down. Very affecting. This was one that, as you say, afterwards I went and did more digging to find out more about their story. A story that needed to be told, and if you listen to McConaughey, I guess it's been 15, 20 years in the making. They've been trying to find the financing for this film, and it's a hit, which shows to go that, you know, sometimes studios, you got to take a chance on stuff that might not be commercial. People do want serious things. They just don't know it until it's put in front of them.
It's on my list, but lower. And that was your number
8.
8. So now we're down to my number 8. My number 8, ironically enough, is Fast and Furious 6.
Okay.
I have 2 car movies in my top 10. I know that's strange. This is my guilty pleasure pick for in my top 10 because I really like the way the characters are all integrated together, and it's all about this sense of family, and the stunts are even bigger than the previous 5 films that they've done, and this series was on a real, and forgive the pun, hot streak before the untimely passing of Paul Walker. And while I don't think this is going to be going down in history as his or Vin Diesel's best performance, I do think that the work they've done to kind of deepen the mythology of this franchise actually has really helped other filmmakers when they're going to be making other racing movies. I don't think that we would have had such a brilliant movie as Rush without dealing with a couple of Fast and the Furious films. So that's my number 8. What's your number 7?
The Spectacular Now is my number 7.
Okay.
A movie that really snuck up on me. I really had no expectations for this movie. I feared it was going to be another stupid teen love story, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was much more serious than this. Miles Teller plays a young man who is on his way to being a lifelong alcoholic. He doesn't have any plans whatsoever, and his bluster hides a bit of a low self-esteem.
Yeah.
He falls in love with a girl who's a wallflower, and suddenly grows a heart and has to make some hard decisions about his life, especially after he meets his father, who he hasn't seen in years, and comes face to face with the fact that he might be going down the same tragic path as his father. Not a John Hughes film by any stretch, much more serious. Characters that I loved, characters I worried about. Characters I really cared for. And that's not something I can often say about teen movies. And some really good quiet scenes that were very dramatic that I really, really liked. Spectacular Now, again, that one snuck up on me. And you asked about surprises. That was probably one of my biggest surprises this year.
So, oddly enough, my biggest surprise comes right now, as we both have this as our number 7. I saw this film much earlier than you did, as it was playing at Ebert Fest, the last one that I believe. No.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, last year. And this was the last one that Roger Ebert himself.
It had premiered at Sundance, and then Ebert jumped on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did. As you say, the characters are people that you care about, that you grow to wonder what's going to happen with their lives, especially Miles Teller's character. I would even stretch to say I cared about Brie Larson's character.
Yeah, well, even the periphery characters.
Yeah. And so to have characters uniformly all across the board, even though they're not the leads, being people that you wonder about, that's the sign of a great filmmaker telling a great story, thanks to a great script by the same writers of 500 Days of Summer. And that and the moment, the twist moment in the film toward the end, involving an argument the two lovebirds are having and what happens after that, was my biggest shock of the year, I have to say. Just great.
Good movie.
What's
really
your
good
number
movie.
6, though?
Well, we already talked about it. Rush is my number
Rush
6.
is your number 6? My number 6, I struggled with this, but I'm going to put Prisoners at my number 6. Because I love the work done by Hugh Jackman. This movie is basically the Hugh Jackman show. It's basically about...
I'll disagree with that, but go ahead.
Okay. Hugh Jackman, Paul Dano, or are you going to agree with me now?
Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal, come on.
Oh, all right, yeah. And Jake Gyllenhaal. Those three are really the holy trinity of this film and why it works. Mostly because you have a father desperately trying to find his daughter who was taken by... Can I just call him a weird guy? Because I don't...
Well, we don't know who it is. We think it's a weird guy.
Well, that's the assumption of the film.
I mean, don't give it away.
It's taken by someone.
Disturbed gentleman.
And what follows is a prison-like cage that this person is put in because he's being accused of doing this thing that he may or may have not done. Brilliant acting by Hugh Jackman. Jake Gyllenhaal, as you correctly stated, is really at his best here. And just a really spectacular film. Fraught with tension.
I like this movie a lot and was going to love this movie until the last scene.
Yeah, the last scene just killed it.
The last scene for me, the film lost its nerve. I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed as though it was following a thematic track, and then all of a sudden it did a U-turn.
Yeah, I was going to say it took the easy way out.
It does take the easy way out, which I did not like, and for me that ruined the movie. I gave it 2.5 out of 4, so it was really borderline for me. But as you say, great acting, and the whole metaphor of prisoners. I mean, it's not just this young man who's in prison. It's not just the girls who've been taken that are in prison, but the gentlemen also have things from their past that make them emotional prisoners and psychological prisoners of things that have happened. And again, it was very ambitious, and I like that, but just that last scene killed it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. They really just bought the farm and just ran with it. And I just did not like that final scene.
Yeah.
What's your number 5?
Number 5 was the biggest surprise I had this year, Spring Breakers. I just was going in thinking, what are we doing here? Another stupid teen comedy, and so much more than that. James Franco, he was my number 2 as far as most egregious snubs at the Oscar. He should have gotten a Best Supporting Actor nomination for his role as a drug dealer in Florida who takes in 4 young girls who've gone on spring break. They take a wrong turn. They're a little desperate. He takes them in, and he's going to show them the other side of the life. He's going to show them the gangsta livelihood, and they realize, at least one of them realizes real quick, that this is not the way to go. Again, this is about alienation. This is about being lost. It's about trying to be someone in a world in which power seems to be easy, money seems to be easy, but the cost of it is your soul. So just a lot more going on here than I thought. I really like Spring Breakers. I hope people will give it a chance when it comes out on video.
My number 5, and this is probably going to be the one that shocks you, and you're going to be
Oh,
like,
no, I'm even more than Fast and Furious 6?
Yeah. There's going to be one that really shocks you, and here it is. My number 5 is Pacific Rim. I absolutely
I love that movie. That was my
this
number 11.
film. Just from the visual style
That doesn't shock me at all. I thought it was the most overlooked film of the year.
to the Jaegers, to the fight scenes, to the relationships, it all works. And the thing that's really scary about it is it's a big budget blockbuster that I thought was going to fall on its ass.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on here than people realize. Guillermo del Toro, he's so smart.
He really is.
You know, and the great thing about the movie is it has action, it has drama, it's funny, it's I mean, it has everything that you would want from a big summer film, but it's smart.
Yeah. It really... And like you said with Prisoners, how it took the easy way out, this film does not.
No, not at all.
You have a scene where you're thinking, oh, well, this is going to happen at the very end of the movie because it happens at the end of every movie. Nope. Doesn't happen.
Yeah. And, you know, so many films that are presented in the IMAX format are done kind of haphazardly. It was like, oh, well, let's blow that up. Let's blow it up, and we'll throw it on the screens to make a few extra bucks. If there's one movie there were 2 movies made for that format this year that need to be seen on the IMAX screen, Gravity and Pacific Rim, and that's a shame that we'll probably never see it on that format again because it did not find the audience here that it should have. Did do well overseas, though, and I actually know Del Toro has already written a sequel. We'll see if it actually gets made.
Oh, yay.
We'll see if it gets made.
Okay. Yeah, I really want them to make a sequel.
Me too.
I'll
be there.
I'm salivating right now, just at the thought of seeing those characters
Well,
again.
it did well in the Far East, as you would expect.
Yeah.
Hopefully well enough to get the green light.
Now, my number 4 is an animated film. Brace yourself. My number 4 is Frozen.
I like that movie.
Disney's Frozen is based on the Hans Christian Andersen book, The Ice Princess, and these 2 princesses are sisters, and one sister has ice powers and the other one is completely normal. And because of the ice powers, Elsa is shut out from the world by her parents, and then something happens, and Elsa shuts herself out even further as her powers grow stronger. And one event at one point in time causes something to happen that makes Elsa have to run away, and her sister Anna is in pursuit and journeys to try and find her through the winter wonderland that her kingdom now inhabits. I really love this film, not just because it's Kristen Bell, who I adore from her days as Veronica Mars, but because it really just, it's Hercules level good Disney movie. That's what I like to think of it. Hercules level as a good Disney movie. It's not Lion King, but it's really close. The music's great. The voice acting's fantastic, especially by Josh Gad from the Book of Mormon. Hilarious character he gets.
He's great.
Just genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my number 4, right?
That was your number 4, and I heard that on the 31st they are re-releasing it in a sing-along format.
Ooh, I want to go to
1,000
that.
theaters, so I'm sure we'll get that. It'll be fun.
Okay. What's your number?
Number 4.
4?
Before Midnight.
Before Midnight.
Before Midnight. Love this movie. Again, smart stuff. Long takes. The third in the Before trilogy, where we have Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. We see their relationship having developed over the space of about, 15 years now.
Yeah.
And we see them now as a married couple. The roses, or the bloom is off the rose, as they say. Now they're dealing with actual real-life problems that most couples go through. All the romance is gone, and it's just so emotionally true. And if you've ever been in a relationship, you can relate to all they're going through. And again, a movie that doesn't take the easy way out at the end. They leave us hanging, and as we've talked, hopefully maybe in another 7-8 years they'll get back together, and we'll see what has become of that couple then.
This film is actually my number 3.
Okay.
And let me tell you what makes it my number 3. All the problems that they discussed in the first film are now their reality. And watching them deal with it is not only fascinating...
It's funny you say that. I saw the first film again the other night.
But heartbreaking. All the things that they were afraid of were going to happen to them when they married someone whether it would be each other or not, come to complete fruition in this third film. And that's what made me really love the film.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, unlike anything I've seen in film history, these three films, this continuation. Like I say, I hope they continue. We'll have to talk about Linklater's next film, which just premiered at Sundance. I don't know if you know about that. But
I know a little bit. Not a lot.
Really cool. Yeah.
Okay, what's your number 2?
How about number 3?
Oh, you're number 3. Sorry.
Yeah. Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I get the impression I was the only one who saw this movie and actually really loved it.
You may have been.
I may have been, yeah. Ben Stiller starred and directed in this movie a modern update of the James Thurber story about a guy who just lives within his own head. He's afraid of life. He's afraid of talking to the woman he's fallen in love with, played by Kristen Wiig. He works at Life magazine in the photo department. I love how he works in a mode or in a department that is now completely antiquated. It doesn't really exist anymore. And he works at Life magazine, which doesn't exist anymore either. Yeah. And they're preparing the last issue. And he finds out that there is a picture that his favorite photographer, Sean Penn, has lost. And it's going to be the picture that's used for the cover of the final issue. So he has to set out to find the photographer, to track down the picture. And he sets out on an adventure that takes him to Iceland and Greenland and the Himalayas and all over the place, and he finds himself along the way. Visually spectacular, corny as hell, but I guess I needed that when I saw it. I needed an old-fashioned movie that reminded me of the Frank Capra movies and the other unabashedly sentimental films that I liked when I was growing up. So give that one a shot.
My list, I have to say this, for my number 2. I saw this film.
Have you done your number 3?
I did do my number 3. Because
okay.
Remember what I said my number 3 was?
Okay, fine. Go ahead. I want to make sure.
My number 2, this made it really, really hard. My number 2 is a movie that I hope you've seen. Short Term 12.
Yeah, that's right.
I absolutely love this film. One of the things that really draws me in is things that feel realistic. In the sense that you have this group of, I don't want to call them foster children, because they're
troubled kids.
Troubled youths who are about to be sent away into the foster system and who have a sort of a limbo to go to before that occurs. And it stars
Brie Larson,
who has been in The Spectacular Now, and I didn't really think this actress had any range. I mean, we'd seen her in Don John, which, by the way, is not on my list. Is also a good film.
Also, 21 Jump Street.
And 21 Jump Street. But this is the film where I really saw her as a very strong actress, and where her character felt most like a person to me. And just the struggle she has with trying to get one of her charges to open up and talk about the heinous things they went through.
Yeah.
And what the group goes through in forming together to be kind of like a family is interesting.
Does that. Yeah.
And she's the glue that holds it all together. And I should mention that John Gallagher Jr. from The Newsroom is in this film, and he's great for the little part he plays in it. It's just a really raw, emotional picture to watch.
Well, what's interesting is also that we deal with her problems too. She has quite a few
emotional
things that she's dealing with. Really a solid film.
Yeah, and to watch her balance that was just spectacular fun for me.
My number 2 is Inside Llewyn Davis, the Coen Brothers film. This was one of those that you either loved or you hated. There seemed to be no middle road here from people that I've talked to.
I love it, but it's not on my list. Didn't
quite make your top 10. About a guy named Llewyn Davis who's just on the cusp of the American folk music scene of the 1960s. He's not a very likable guy. Moralistically, he's got some faults. He cares about no one but himself. The only other thing he cares about is his music. And while he is very talented, he just doesn't have that star quality that's going to make him a success.
But watching the struggle is immensely captivating.
And that's what the whole film is about. Well, one of the things the film is about.
The journey, is the way I looked at it.
Well, the journey and the whole thing about the artist's struggle, standing by what you believe in, even when everyone else is telling you, bless you, that you're wrong. And anyone can take that away, even if you're not an artist, this whole adhering to your own beliefs. The music was great, a lot of great ironic twists that we expect from the Coen brothers. This one's going to last, I think, for years. Okay. I have a feeling our number 1's the same. but go ahead.
Actually, can I guess at what your number one is?
No, tell me yours.
My number one is Her.
Ah, okay.
I love the idea of having a future where we're all connected to technology. I love the idea.
We're there.
Yeah, I know we're there, but I love the idea of seeing how horrible it could make society, and how bent out of shape and lost out of touch in terms of connectedness we could all be if we keep on this path. I love that it's basically a warning label. I know what your number one is.
It's a cautionary tale.
I have a guess at what your number one is. I love Joaquin Phoenix in this film. I love Amy Adams in this film for the little part she has in it. I love Scarlett Johansson, even though she came in at the last minute to do all the line readings for the character of Samantha. It's basically about a guy who gets a new operating system, and it's an intuitive operating system that learns along with him, and not only learns his life and his schedule, but learns to be his friend and a companion and eventually something else. The other little side gags, like the video game, which I think is great. The date with the girl in the video game says, "Oh, she's fat." is so great. The number one moment in that film for me is when the surrogate shows up.
Mm-hmm. And that goes wrong.
And it goes horribly wrong. And I loved watching that chaos ensue because it tells us how disconnected we may get from life.
He cannot make a physical, emotional, real connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that about that film. And I've seen it, I think, 3 times now. Mm-hmm. I know you must be surprised that...
No. Great film. It was just such a good year that I have got so many films tied for 11, and that's one. One of them.
I know what your number one is.
What is it?
I'm going to guess.
Mm-hmm.
Is it... I want to say American Hustle?
It's American Hustle, yep.
Okay, go ahead and...
Real quick, American Hustle, again, great based on fact story about some con artists who are recruited by the FBI, overzealous agent played by Bradley Cooper, so that he can use them to entrap big wigs in the Senate in order to advance his career. The con people are played by Christian Bale and Amy Adams. It's really a movie about people finding themselves. All 3 of these characters hide behind a facade, hide behind a degree of cool, certainly hide behind the physical things they put on, and eventually they all have to tear that away in order to come to terms with who they really are. And some of the things they find out about each other aren't funny or aren't nice. However, the greatest prolonged joke of the year with the fish story that we never hear the end to. Second year in a row, David O. Russell has topped my list.
Okay. And really quickly before we go, I want to talk to you a little bit about Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit. What did you think of that film? Because I saw it last night.
Flawed, but overall I would recommend it.
I agree. That's my same summation. I feel like it has the pattern of the original Tom Clancy films, but they've added a little bit more action to it. I would have wanted to see a more deeper backstory into who Jack Ryan is as a person, and he went into the army and all those things, but it wasn't really that deep for me. I didn't really feel invested in his character other than when he was trying to save his girlfriend from something involving a light bulb.
Yes.
And that was the only moment of real tension for me.
I didn't understand the light bulb thing.
I didn't either.
Okay, good.
It made no sense.
All right, good.
So that's our show for this week. We both recommend Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit, and that's our top 10 list. And we'll see you next week where we'll talk about the Oscar nominations and who we think is going to win. Thanks. Bye.